The lie that got me fired was 3 words long. It'll be ready. I said it at 10:17 on a Tuesday morning while 12 people stared at me through a conference room camera, and 3 executives from my own company stared at me across a table like I was the only man in America who had somehow misplaced Friday. On the wall, the client's project plan was still red in 4 places. Red did not mean a little behind. Red meant the payment gateway was failing load tests. The data migration had thrown duplicate records overnight, and our implementation team had spent most of Monday discovering new definitions for the phrase, not production ready. Laura Kim, the client's operations director, leaned toward her camera. Jake, I need a yes or no answer. Can Hail Systems guarantee we go live Friday? I looked at Daniel Cross, our sales vice president. Daniel gave me the expression sales executives used when they wanted engineering reality to become somebody else's personality problem. My phone buzzed against the table. A message from Victor Hale, founder and CEO. Say yes. All caps. No punctuación. Apparently, punctuation was where legal liability started. I looked again at the wall. Our lead engineer had given me a best case of the following Wednesday. Emma Reed, our implementation manager, had told me before the meeting that Friday was impossible unless the laws of time became optional. Laura repeated, Jake, I could have said no. I had been with Hail Systems 6 years. I was the senior enterprise account manager on the account. I knew exactly what we had sold, exactly what we had failed to finish, and exactly what would happen if the client reorganized 200 warehouse employees around a system that wasn't ready. My phone buzzed again. Victor, say yes. Daniel Cross cleared his throat. Jake owns the client relationship. That was Daniel's gift. He could turn an order into empowerment before the sentence reached the other side of the room. I looked into the camera. It'll be ready. Laura held my eyes for a second. You're guaranteeing that? Daniel smiled. I said yes. By Friday, at 2:40 in the afternoon, the client had stopped shipping from 3 distribution centers. At 3:05, the duplicate inventory records became duplicate outbound orders. At 3:28, Laura called me and asked a question I still remembered word for word. Did you know this could happen? I was standing in a hallway outside the war room with Emma beside me, both of us running on vending machine coffee and the kind of adrenaline that made your hands cold. I told Laura the truth. Yes. There was a long silence on the phone. Then Laura said, Then why did you tell me we were ready? I looked through the glass wall of the war room. Daniel was pointing at a screen. Melissa Grant, our head of operations, was talking to someone from legal. Victor had joined remotely from New York and was asking for a recovery estimate every 6 minutes, as if reality charged by the update. Laura, I said, right now I need to help get your operation stable. We can talk about the decision path after that. That's not an answer. No, I said, it isn't. We worked until after midnight. We rolled the client back to the old workflow. We stopped the duplicate orders. We rebuilt the damaged queue. Nothing exploded, nobody died, and by corporate standards that qualified as a strong recovery from a disaster we had created ourselves. Monday morning, HR invited me to a meeting titled Project Review. There were no engineers in the room. That should have told me everything. Claire Bennett, our head of human resources, sat at one end of the table with a yellow legal pad. Melissa sat beside her. Daniel was across from me. Victor joined on video from his office. Emma sat 2 chairs down on my right. Claire folded her hands. Jake, we're reviewing the circumstances around the Friday launch commitment. I nodded. Good. Daniel glanced at me. Claire said, Did you personally tell the client the system would be ready? Yes. Were you aware at that time that implementation had unresolved risks? Yes. Claire wrote that down. I added, Victor instructed me to make the commitment. On the screen, Victor's expression barely changed. Claire looked up. How did he instruct you? He'll chat message. During the meeting, Victor said, I encouraged Jake to provide confidence to the client. I stared at the screen. You wrote say yes. Twice. Victor's tone stayed calm. I do not recall instructing you to misrepresent technical readiness. My stomach went cold. Daniel said, Nobody told Jake to promise a specific launch outcome. I turned to him. You were sitting 3 feet away. Daniel spread his hands. I told you that you owned a relationship. I did not tell you to provide information you believed was false. Melissa spoke next. Operationally, we have been very clear that risks should be surfaced honestly. I laughed once. It came out wrong. Melissa's face tightened. Is something funny? You told me Thursday afternoon to stop using the phrase launch blocker because it was making leadership nervous. I told you to distinguish blockers from manageable risks. The payment gateway was failing, and that should have been communicated accurately. Melissa looked at Claire. Jake should have been honest. There are sentences that make you angry. There are other sentences that remove anger completely and leave behind something cleaner. I looked at Emma. She had been there when Victor called us Friday morning. She had heard him say, "We already gave him a date. Your job is to make the date true." She had watched me argue with Daniel. She knew. Claire turned toward her. "Emma, did Victor instruct Jake to make that promise?" Emma looked at me. Her fingers were locked around a paper cup so tightly the lid had bent. Then Emma looked at Claire. "I don't know." For a second, I heard the air conditioning. That was all. Not betrayal music. Not a dramatic crack of thunder. Just a cheap ceiling vent moving refrigerated office air over 6 people who were suddenly very interested in procedure. Claire asked 2 more questions. I barely remember them. At 4:15 that afternoon, Claire called me back alone. She had a folder on the table. "Jake, Hail Systems is terminating your employment effective today." I sat down across from her. "For what?" "Failure to follow client communication standards and unauthorized commitment of a material delivery date." Expires. Claire's voice softened by half a degree. "You'll receive 6 weeks of severance if you sign the standard release." "Did you review Victor's texts?" "Legal reviewed the available materials." "That wasn't my question." Claire paused. "I'm not able to discuss internal legal review." "Did somebody delete the messages?" "I can't speculate." I couldn't show her my copy. Hail Chat was company managed. My account had been disabled before the review, and the local thread had disappeared with it. I already knew the answer from the way she said it. I stood. Claire said, "Jake." I stopped at the door. "Our employees are always our first priority," Claire said. "I know this is difficult, but I do want to make sure you understand the transition support available to you." I looked back at her. It was such a polished sentence that for one irrational second, I almost admired it. "Thanks, Claire." Security did not walk me out. Hail Systems preferred the phrase assisted departure, and apparently I had earned the premium version where a facilities coordinator watched me put 6 years of my life into a cardboard box. Emma was gone from her desk when I passed. I was glad. I drove home in my 12-year-old Honda Accord with a box of coffee mugs, charging cables, client notebooks I was no longer allowed to keep, and an acrylic award that said Customer Trust Champion. I put the award face down on the passenger seat. At home, I ate cereal for dinner because all meaningful adult decisions had been temporarily suspended. Around 9, the local business channel ran an interview with Victor. He was standing in the Hail Systems lobby beneath the company logo, talking about taking accountability and maintaining trust through difficult transitions. The interviewer asked whether the client failure suggested deeper cultural problems. Victor smiled the way he smiled when he wanted to make a hard question feel rude. "Integrity has always been the foundation of Hail Systems." I laughed at the television. "Sure," I said, "and I'm the President of the United States." Someone knocked on my apartment door. I froze. Another knock. Then a man's voice from the hallway said, "Mr. President?" I stared at the television. Victor was still talking. The man outside knocked again. "Mr. President, Secret Service. We need to move." I did what any reasonable person would do after being fired, publicly blamed for a corporate disaster, and addressed as commander-in-chief by a federal agent outside a 1-bedroom apartment in Arlington. I turned off the television. The knocking continued. "Mr. President?" the man called again. "Sir?" I opened the door 3 inches. 2 men in dark suits stood in the hallway. One had an earpiece. The other had the controlled expression of somebody professionally trained not to react to a president wearing sweatpants and 1 sock. "Sir," the first man said, "we need to leave." I closed the door. Then I locked it. Then I stood very still. My phone rang. The caller ID said, White House switchboard. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello. A woman said, Mr. President, the Chief of Staff is asking whether you still intend to join the secure briefing by phone. I hung up. A sensation appeared somewhere behind my eyes. Not pain, not a sound. More like the awareness you have when you know exactly how much battery is left in your phone without looking. 7 hours, 59 minutes, and 38 seconds. Then 37. Then 36. I sat down on the floor. The Secret Service knocked again. You whispered, no. Nothing happened. I tried to think. I had made one clearly false statement. I'm the President of the United States. I had known it was false when I said it. Reality, apparently, had taken that personally. Whatever this was, it was new. It'll be ready had been a lie, too. I had known it was false when I said it on Tuesday, and nothing had happened then. Somewhere between losing my job and sitting in my apartment, the rules had changed. 7 hours, 58 minutes remained. I called the White House switchboard back because panic sometimes wears a business casual disguise. A different operator answered instantly. Mr. President? Who is the president? I asked. There was a pause. Sir, humor me. You are. What's my name? Jake Mercer. I hung up again. My living room contained the same IKEA couch, the same stack of unopened mail, and the same coffee table with a burn mark from college. Nothing looked presidential. My banking app still showed a checking balance that would not impress Congress. I pulled up a news site. There I was, not in my apartment, in photographs. Jake Mercer at a podium. Jake Mercer boarding Air Force One. Jake Mercer shaking hands with people I had never met in places I had never been. My brain refused the images with the stubbornness of a printer rejecting the correct paper size. Another knock. Mr. President, the agent said more firmly this time. We really do need to move. I opened the door again. I have 5 minutes before we need to leave. The agent nodded. Yes, sir. I shut the door and leaned against it. The statement had been false when I said it. Now it was true. I needed another false statement. I looked around my apartment, searching for something harmless enough to test and strong enough to overwrite whatever I had done. Then I realized something. Under this reality, I was the president, which meant the sentence I'd spent the entire afternoon trying not to feel sorry about was now false. I opened the door. Both agents looked at me. I said, very clearly, I'm just an unemployed account manager. The hallway changed, not with light or sound. Nothing moved. The men were simply gone. The elevator doors stood closed at the far end of the hall. My neighbor's welcome mat was crooked. Somebody's dog barked 2 floors down. My phone stopped vibrating. The presidential news photos vanished when I refreshed the page. The countdown reset. 7 hours, 59 minutes, 57 seconds. I stared at the empty hallway. Then I closed the door and said, okay, that was true. Nothing happened. For the next 20 minutes, I did not speak. I made coffee even though it was almost 10 at night. I opened a blank note on my laptop and typed observations because typed words, unlike spoken ones, seemed safely ignored by whatever cosmic compliance department had taken over my life. Spoken false statement. Must know it's false. Becomes true. Timer, 8 hours. New statement appears to replace old one. Reality seems to take the shortest route it can to make the sentence true. Anything created directly by the lie appears to belong to the 8-hour version of reality. What people choose to do while that version exists might be different. No evidence yet that the ability gives me knowledge I did not already have. The sentence about being unemployed had done more than make 2 federal agents vanish. My email now showed a termination confirmation from Hail Systems. LinkedIn listed my employment ending that day. That part matched the original world, which suggested reality had found the least dramatic way to satisfy my replacement statement. I needed one more test. Only one. I walked to the refrigerator and opened it. Water, mustard, half a lime, a plastic container containing leftovers I no longer trusted. Novea. I closed the refrigerator. There's a cold beer in my fridge. The countdown snapped back to 8 hours. I opened the door. A A single bottle of beer sat on the middle shelf between the mustard and the lime. I looked at it for a full 10 seconds. Then I took it out. The label was from a local brewery I liked. Condensation ran down the glass. I checked my grocery receipt from Sunday. Novair. I opened it and took a drink. It tasted real. Of course it tasted real. At that point, taste had lost its position on the committee. I sat at my kitchen table with the bottle and tried to decide what kind of person I was about to become. The obvious ideas arrived first. I have $1 million. I own this building. I won the lottery. They were not even interesting for long. If the timer meant what I thought it meant, any reality directly created by the lie would disappear 8 hours later. Money could become paperwork, investigations, purchases that reverted, accounts that ceased to exist. I did not know the edge cases, and I had spent enough time around contracts to know that edge cases were where your life went to die. But some things would survive. If I lied that there was a beer in my refrigerator, the beer vanished after 8 hours. Fine. If I gave the beer to somebody while it existed, would they still remember drinking it after the bottle vanished? Probably. I did not know yet. If I became president for 8 hours and signed a law, would the law remain? I had no intention of finding out. The presidency had answered one question I had not wanted answered. Scale was not the limit. That did not make me want to think bigger. It made me want to think smaller. If one stupid sentence could rewrite national history, I was not going to experiment with markets, medicine, wars, lottery numbers, or dead people just to learn where the edge was. I would stay close to facts I understood, people I knew, and consequences I could actually watch. Hail systems was already dangerous enough. Then I thought about the meeting that afternoon. Daniel saying nobody told me to promise anything. Melissa saying I should have been honest. Claire saying employees were always the first priority. Victor saying integrity was the foundation of Hail systems. I got up so fast the chair scraped the floor. In the box from my office, under the upside-down Customer Trust Champion Award, were 6 years of notebooks. I had always been obsessive about client language. Who promised what? Who approved which discount? Which executive used which exact phrase in which meeting? Most account managers kept CRM notes. I kept those too, but I also kept private notebooks because corporate memory had a suspicious relationship with quarterly targets. I spread them across the table. Daniel, Leadership Summit. March. Good salespeople deliver what they promise. Melissa, Operations Review. June. Transparency is non-negotiable. Claire, All Hands. September. Our employees are always our first priority. Victor appeared everywhere. The customer always comes first. People are our greatest asset. Leadership means responsibility. I would never ask someone to do something I wouldn't do myself. I read that last one twice. It came from an old company anniversary speech, back when Victor still walked through the office without an assistant and remembered the names of people outside the executive floor. I had believed him then. Maybe he had believed himself. That made me angrier than if he had simply been lying. At 12:23 in the morning, my phone lit up with a message from Emma. I am sorry. I stared at it. Then another message appeared. I should have told them what I heard. I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Finally, I wrote, yes. She did not answer. I set the phone face down. The beer would exist until a little after 6 in the morning. I did not need to stay awake to watch it disappear. I knew enough. I looked at Daniel's quote again. Good salespeople deliver what they promise. Then at Claire's. Employees are always our first priority. Then Melissa's. You should have been honest. Something warm and unpleasant settled into place behind my ribs. Not revenge exactly. Revenge wanted people to hurt. What I wanted was more specific. I wanted their words to cost what they always cost everyone else. Oh, I said to the empty kitchen. The statement was true, so the world remained quiet. I know exactly what I'm doing tomorrow. That was also true. At 10:40 the next morning, I parked my Honda in the visitor lot at Hail Systems. The headquarters building was 6 stories of glass, steel, and aspirational vocabulary. The lobby wall displayed customer obsession in letters tall enough to qualify as architecture. I had walked through that lobby nearly every workday for 6 years. That morning, my badge was dead. I expected that. What I did not expect was Martin at the security desk, looking genuinely uncomfortable when he saw me. "Jake," Martin said. "Man, I heard. Fast Company." Martin grimaced. "Claire told us your access was terminated. I can't let you upstairs." "I know. Martin had once found my wallet in the cafeteria and driven 3 miles after work to return it because I had not answered my phone. I was not using supernatural reality editing to make him violate security policy. So I chose a lie that would create authorization instead of disobedience. Claire asked me to come in for a follow-up meeting. The sentence clicked into place. The timer appeared. 7 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Martin glanced at his monitor. "Right. She put you on the list. Visitor badge. Please." He printed one. The instant I clipped it to my shirt, I understood another rule. The lie had not made Martin stupid. It had changed the supporting reality. There was now an appointment in the visitor system under Claire's name, with 4th floor visitor access already approved. Useful, also horrifying. I took the elevator to the 4th floor. Daniel's assistant looked up as I approached the sales wing. "Jake." "Morning, Nina. Are you supposed to be here?" "For the next few minutes." That was true enough that nothing happened. Daniel's office door opened. He stepped out wearing a dark blue suit and carrying 2 phones. He stopped when he saw me. His face went from surprise to irritation in less than a second. "What are you doing here?" Daniel asked. "I wanted to follow up on yesterday. You have no business being on this floor. I have a visitor badge. I can see that." Daniel looked past me toward Nina. "Call security." Nina reached for her phone. "Daniel," I said, "do you remember the leadership summit in March?" Daniel gave me a look that suggested I had chosen a strange final meal. "No." "You were on stage. Customer commitment panel. You said good salespeople deliver what they promise." "I've said a lot of things on stage, Jake." "I know." Nina stopped dialing, probably because Daniel had not yet decided whether this was a confrontation or content. Daniel lowered his voice. "If you came here to make a scene, you're making your severance situation worse." I smiled. That seemed to annoy him more. "Actually," I said, "I came to agree with you." Daniel's eyes narrowed. I knew what I was about to say was false. That mattered. I said, "Daniel always personally delivers exactly what he promises." The visitor authorization disappeared from reality. The countdown reset. 7 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Daniel blinked. His phone rang. He glanced at the screen. "Laura Kim," he muttered. Normally, Daniel would have sent the call to me, then to customer success, then to a project lead, then eventually to whoever still had enough emotional cartilage to answer. Instead, he picked up. "Laura." Daniel Cross. I watched his posture change. "Yes, of course. I did say you'd have executive oversight personally." Daniel listened. His eyes moved toward me. "No, I can stay on." He covered the microphone with his palm. "What did you do?" I said, "You took a client call." Daniel pointed at me. "Don't leave." Then Laura said something through the phone that made him turn away. "Yes," Daniel told her. "I'll review it myself." Nina stared at him. I asked quietly, "Does he normally review implementation logs?" Nina whispered, "Daniel thinks a log is what happens when your fireplace has alignment issues." I liked Nina. Daniel ended the call. Before he could speak, his second phone rang. He looked at it and swore. "Who?" I asked. Daniel answered without taking his eyes off me. "Mercer Foods. We sold them 24/7 executive support during renewal." "You sold them that?" "I sold them access." "Sounds like support." Daniel answered the call. "Tom." "Yes." "Daniel Cross." I could hear a man talking rapidly through the speaker. Daniel tried to interrupt. Then his expression changed again. "Yes," he said slowly. "I did tell you to call me anytime." Nina pressed her lips together. I asked, "How many clients have his personal number?" "Officially," Nina whispered. 0. Daniel's desk phone rang behind him. Nina looked at me. "Unofficially. This may be a historic morning." For the next 40 minutes, Daniel discovered what his own sales deck meant. Mercer Foods had a billing issue he had personally described as something I'll stay on top of. A manufacturing client in Richmond reminded him that he had said, "You'll have my personal attention until your team is fully live." Daniel tried delegation twice. Both times, reality corrected him with the quiet cruelty of contract clause. He called the director and said, "Take this for me." The director answered, "I can help, but the client specifically asked for the executive support you promised." Daniel tried to tell Nina to send somebody else to Richmond. Nina looked at her calendar and said, "You told them you'd personally make sure the site team was trained." "I meant personally as an organization." Nina stared at him. Daniel said, "Don't." "I didn't say anything," Nina replied. At 10:05, Daniel cornered me in a small conference room. He shut the door. "What did you do?" he asked. "I'm unemployed. What could I possibly do?" The sentence came dangerously close to false, and I felt a flicker of alarm before realizing it was rhetorical rather than a factual declaration. Nothing changed. Daniel stepped closer. "Every client promise I've made in the last 6 months is landing on me." Sounds efficient. This is not funny. It's a little funny. "Jake," I leaned back against the table. "You said good salespeople deliver what they promise. That is a principle. Great principle. It does not mean a vice president personally performs every service obligation. Then why use the word personally?" "I don't use the word personally." His phone rang. Daniel checked the screen and closed his eyes. I said, "Personal attention?" Daniel pointed at me again. "Stay here." He answered. Daniel Cross. I left while he was still talking. The ability did not force me to remain available for follow-up questions. By noon, word had spread. I knew because 2 former co-workers texted me. First came Omar from Customer Success. "Why is Daniel doing onboarding in training room B?" Then Lisa from Sales Operations. "Did Daniel just ask me how to reset a customer admin role?" Then Omar again. "He is physically holding a headset. What is happening?" I did not answer. I bought lunch at a deli across the street and sat where I could see the Hail Systems entrance through the window. At 12:42, Daniel came out of the building carrying his laptop bag, still on a call. A black company car pulled up. Daniel got in. Nina texted me 5 minutes later. "He's going to Richmond." I wrote back, "Why?" "White glove onboarding." I laughed hard enough that the man at the next table looked over. Then Nina sent another message. "You're involved in this somehow." I typed, "That sounds paranoid." I stopped before sending it. It would have been a lie. That was going to require adjustment. Instead, I wrote, "I'm enjoying the customer-first culture." That was true. At 2:30, I drove home. I had no need to follow Daniel to Richmond. The point was not to watch every inconvenience. The point was the condition. For 8 hours, he would live inside the promises he had spent years distributing to other people. At 4:41, my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered. Daniel said, "You think you're clever." There was road noise behind him. "Where are you?" I asked. "Interstate 95. Still personally delivering?" I spent 2 hours teaching inventory configuration to 6 warehouse supervisors. How'd it go? One of them understood the product better than I did. That must have been healing. "Jake, whatever this is, stop it. I'm not ending it early." That was true. Daniel went quiet. I added, "It ends on its own." When? I looked at the timer. 2 hours, 18 minutes. Later. Later is not a time. You sell software. I thought you liked flexible delivery dates. Daniel swore. Then another phone began ringing on his end. He said, "I hate you," and disconnected. I almost replied out loud, "No, you don't," but stopped myself. I did not know whether it was false. That was another useful discovery. Uncertainty was safe. At 6:59 in the evening, the countdown reached 0. I was sitting on my couch. There was no flash, no sound. The awareness simply disappeared. My phone rang at 7:04. Daniel again. His voice had changed. The strange compulsory precision was gone. He sounded like himself, controlled, furious, and very tired. "It stopped," Daniel said. "Yes." "What did you do to me?" "I agreed with your leadership philosophy." "I'm serious." "So am I. Stay away from Hail Systems." I was fired. That was the plan. "I can make this worse for you." I looked at the cardboard box, still sitting beside my table. "You already used your best material." Daniel hung up. I slept better than I had expected. The next morning, at 8:12, Daniel received an email from Mercer Foods. I only knew because he forwarded it to me with no greeting and no explanation. The message read, "Daniel, yesterday was the best executive support we've received from Hale in 3 years. Your direct involvement uncovered 2 issues our teams have been escalating for months. We appreciate the attention and want to proceed with the renewal discussion. Regards, Tom." Below it, Daniel had written one line, "You're still an asshole." I read the email twice. Then I wrote back, "Customer always comes first." He did not respond. But that afternoon, Nina sent me a screenshot of an internal sales memo Daniel had posted. Effective immediately, executive oversight and personal attention were no longer approved phrases and proposals unless a named executive had agreed to the scope in writing. I sat at my kitchen table looking at the screenshot. That part was real. No timer, no compulsión. Daniel had learned enough to change a process. Not much, but something that should have satisfied me. Instead, I opened another notebook. Melissa Grant had once told an entire operations meeting that transparency was non-negotiable. 2 days later, I found her at the coffee shop near Hale Systems. She saw me by the entrance and stopped. "Jake, Melissa, no, I haven't asked anything yet. You came to my coffee shop at 8 in the morning 3 days after being terminated. It's not your coffee shop. You know what I mean. Edo." Melissa looked around. "If this is about the investigation, talk to Claire. You told her I should have been honest." "You should have. I was ordered to make the commitment. You were also the account manager. So my responsibility was to ignore the CO? Your responsibility was to refuse to say something you knew was false." That landed because she was right. I had argued. I had documented the risks. I had complained in language careful enough to make everyone uncomfortable without forcing anyone to stop. Then Victor told me to say yes, and I said yes. Melissa watched my face. "What do you want?" she asked. "Honestly, yes," I said. Melissa is completely honest at work. The timer appeared. 7 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Melissa stared at me. "That's a weird thing to say." "Have a good day." At 8:37, she called. "What did you do?" Melissa asked. That question is becoming popular. "I just told our chief financial officer that our operational efficiency metric is artificially inflated." "Is it?" "Yes." "Then that sounds honest." I also told him exactly how we make it look better. I sat down at my kitchen table. Melissa continued, sounding increasingly offended by her own mouth. "And I have an executive review in 20 minutes. That sounds exciting." "I swear to God, Jake." She hung up. At 9:18, Emma texted, "What did you do to Melissa?" I stared at the message. I had not told Emma anything about Daniel. I wrote, "Why do you think I did something?" Emma replied, "Because she just told Victor the Phoenix rollout is 6 weeks late and the official status says minor schedule pressure." Then, she told Daniel his team sells features that do not exist. Then, Daniel said that's unfair, and Melissa said no, it's extremely fair. I smiled despite myself. Emma sent one more message. "Jake." I put the phone face down. I was not ready for that conversation. By noon, secondhand reports were coming from half the building. Melissa had rejected an executive slide because customer enthusiasm remained strong was unsupported. She had changed it to retention risk increased after 2 missed commitments. She had told Victor that people had been warning him about bad metrics for 2 years, and he preferred sentences that fit on slides. Then something happened that stopped being funny. At 12:50, a project coordinator named Ben called me. "Jake, Melissa told me to call you." I sat up. "Why?" She said she owed you one accurate fact. The Friday launch decision trail still exists in the project archive. Not Victor's texts, but there's a transcript from the prep call where Daniel says leadership already committed to Friday. I went still. "Don't send me anything confidential." Wasn't going to. "Tell Claire it exists." I already did. After the call, I stared at the timer. That was different. The truth had moved information into Claire's hands. When the 8 hours ended, the archive would still exist, and Claire would still know where to look. At 2:15, Emma called. "Melissa just apologized to 3 implementation managers," she said. "For what?" "For classifying mandatory Saturday work as voluntary stabilization support. I rubbed my forehead. Emma went quiet, then asked, "Are you okay?" I'm eking lunch. That was not my question. It was my answer. Another silence. Finally, I asked, "Did Claire talk to you again?" "Not yet." "What?" "I heard there's another project record." "From whom?" "Someone who had a reason to mention it." Emma's voice sharpened. "Jake, what are you doing?" I looked at the timer, trying to understand something. "That is the first believable answer you've given me." The line went quiet. Emma did not know what I could do. Not exactly, but she was watching patterns. At 4:03, Melissa knocked on my apartment door. When I opened it, she walked past me. "Coffee," she said. "That is my kitchen. Then you know where it is." I made coffee. The timer showed 27 minutes. Melissa took one sip. "This is terrible. You have 27 minutes left. Maybe pace yourself." She stopped. Her eyes lifted to mine. "How long?" I said nothing. "How long has this been happening to me?" "Almost 8 hours." Melissa stared at me, then laughed once. "What happens after 8? You go back to normal." "Normal meaning I can lie again?" "Yes." "Well, thank God. I have a budget meeting tomorrow." Despite myself, I smiled. Melissa set down the mug. "Can you make me do anything?" "Not directly." That answer came quickly. "What did you make true?" "That you're completely honest at work." Her eyebrows rose. "That's it. That was plenty." "Yes," she said. "It was." Melissa looked toward the window. I gave Claire the archive reference. "I heard." I corrected the quarter report. I apologized to people. I told Victor the dashboard is decorative. I heard some of that too. Melissa folded her arms. "Do you know the worst part?" "What?" "Nobody died." I frowned. "I told the truth for almost 8 hours," Melissa said. "People got angry. Meetings got ugly. Numbers got worse. And then people started fixing things." The timer reached 0. The awareness vanished. Melissa inhaled slowly. Nothing dramatic happened. She looked at the coffee. "This is still terrible. Good to have you back." Melissa picked up her bag. "Tomorrow's operating review has a slide called Schedule Health. It currently says yellow." I waited. "It's red," she said. "I'm leaving it red. No timer. No compulsión." Melissa opened the door. "That part is my decision." Then she left. I stood in the quiet apartment for a long time. Daniel had changed proposal language. Melissa was leaving a bad number red. Small things. Boring things. Permanents things. For the first time since the ability appeared, I felt something revenge had not given me. Hope made me nervous. 3 days after Melissa left a red status red on purpose, Claire Bennett emailed me at 7:14 in the morning. The subject line was follow-up review. The message was 6 sentences long, which for Claire qualified as emotional disclosure. She wanted me at Hale Systems at 9. She had reviewed the archive prep call transcript Ben had identified. She had questions about the Friday launch decision. I could bring counsel if I wanted. I was not required to attend. The last sentence said, "Please confirm receipt." I wrote back, "Received." Then I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the notebook beside my coffee. Claire had fired me. Claire had also said, on more than one stage and in more than one company email, that employees were always Hale Systems' first priority. I had already watched Daniel spend 8 hours carrying his own promises. I had watched Melissa spend 8 hours telling the truth and discover that the building remained upright. Both of them had changed something afterward, not because I made them. That distinction had started to matter. At 8:57, Martin at the security desk handed me a visitor badge without supernatural assistance. "You're actually on the list this time," Martin said. "I appreciate the vote of confidence." Martin looked at the badge. Claire put escort not required. That's almost trust. Don't get carried away. I took the elevator to the 4th floor. Claire's office looked exactly as it had the day she fired me. Glass wall, 2 guest chairs, 1 plant that had survived several reorganizations, and a frame company values poster positioned where terminated employees could contemplate it. Claire did not offer me coffee. That was probably wise. She closed the door and said, "I found the transcript." I heard. Daniel says, "Leadership has already committed to Friday. We need the client team aligned around execution, not probability." That sounds like Daniel. Claire continued. Victor joins 11 minutes later. He says, "We gave them Friday. Make Friday true." I felt my jaw tighten. Claire watched me. "That still isn't the text message you described," she said. "No, but it materially changes the record." "Does it change my termination?" Claire paused. There it was. The corporate half-second where truth waited to see whether policy would allow it into the room. "I don't know yet," Claire said. I believed her. That was new. Claire turned her monitor slightly. I also reviewed the investigation notes. Emma was asked whether Victor instructed you to make the promise. She said she didn't know. I remember. She was not asked whether she heard Victor reinforce the Friday commitment before launch. I looked at Claire. That's a very HR way to discover you asked the wrong question. It's an accurate way. Also very HR. Claire ignored that. I asked Emma to come in at 10. I leaned back. "Why am I here now?" "Because I want your account before I speak to her again." "Why?" "Because the first review was too narrow. The sentence was almost enough." "Almost." Then Claire added, "We focus on whether you violated communication standards. We did not adequately examine whether leadership created the conditions for that violation." I looked at the notebook in my lap. Claire noticed. "What is that?" "Old work notes." "About this project?" "About everybody." That answer made her uncomfortable in a way I enjoyed more than I should have. Claire said, "Jake, if you have relevant documentation, you should provide it through the review process." I've learned a lot about review processes lately. "I know you're angry." "I'm not sure you do." Claire folded her hands. "Our employees are always our first priority." There it was. Clean, familiar, polished, and false. I knew it was false. Claire probably knew, somewhere under the training decks and legal language, that was false too. I said, "Actually, Claire always puts employees first." The timer appeared. 7 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Claire's expression changed. Not dramatically. She simply looked at the open case file, then at me, and something in her posture lost its practiced neutrality. "Oh," Claire said. "What?" I knew the review was weak. I said nothing. Claire looked back at the screen. I knew it when legal narrowed the questions. I knew it when Victor's messages weren't in the export. I knew it when Emma looked terrified. My anger arrived so quickly I had to grip the notebook. "Then why did you fire me?" Claire answered immediately. "Because that was easier." The bluntness hurt more than the polished version ever had. Claire stood. "Wait here." "Where are you going?" "To stop another termination." That was how Claire Bennett's 8 hours began. At 9:21, she suspended the firing of a support manager because the evidence file contained one supervisor complaint and no interview with the employee. At 9:48, she reopened a harassment complaint that had been marked resolved after the accused director completed coaching, but the reporting employee had never been asked whether the behavior stopped. At 10:16, she returned to her office with Emma. Emma saw me and stopped. "What is he doing here?" Emma asked. Claire answered, "His case is active again." Emma looked at me. I looked at her. Claire sat down. "Emma, I need to ask a more precise question than I asked last time. On Friday morning, before launch, did Victor Hale tell the implementation team that the company had already committed to Friday and that your job was to make the date true?" Emma's fingers tightened around her paper cup. The same paper cup grip. Different day. This time she did not look at me first. "Yes," Emma said. Claire nodded. "Did Daniel pressure Jake during the client meeting to provide a yes or no commitment?" "Yes." "Did Jake object to the Friday date before that meeting?" "Repeatedly," Claire typed. Emma glanced at me then. I cannot tell whether she expected gratitude. I did not have any ready. Claire asked, "Why did you say I don't know during the first investigation?" Emma swallowed. "Because I was scared." "Of what?" "Getting fired too." Claire typed that as well. Then she stopped. "No," Claire said. Emma blinked. "No what?" Claire deleted something. I was about to write employee expressed uncertainty due to perceived employment risk. Emma stared at her. Claire said, "You weren't uncertain. You were afraid." "Yes." "So I'm writing that." Emma looked at me again. I almost smiled. "Almost." Claire finished the statement and turned the screen toward Emma. "Read it before you sign." Emma read. Her eyes stopped halfway down. You included that legal had already interviewed me once. Yes. That makes the first review look bad. It was bad. Emma slowly signed. When she left Claire's office, I followed her into the hall. Emma. She stopped. People moved around us, carrying laptops and coffee, pretending not to notice the terminated account manager having a quiet argument with an implementation manager outside HR. Emma said, Don't. I haven't said anything. Your face is saying plenty. My face is unemployed. It has time. That got the smallest possible laugh out of her. Then Emma looked away. I should have said it the first time. Yes. I thought they'd fire me. I know. Emma looked back at me. Do you? I know what it feels like to be told one person's job is less important than the company. She flinched. I regretted it immediately, which did not make it untrue. Emma said, I didn't decide you were expendable. No. You just decided you couldn't afford to stand next to me. Her eyes hardened. That's fair. The lack of defense took some air out of me. Emma continued, I was scared, Jake. That's not an excuse. It's the reason. I nodded. Claire opened her office door behind us. Jake, I need you back in here. Emma stepped aside. As I passed, she said, I'm sorry. It was the first time she had said it out loud. I stopped. I know, I said. This time, I meant more than I had when she texted it. The rest of Claire's day was less cinematic than Daniel driving to Richmond and more expensive. She stopped managers from using performance plans as unofficial exit ramps without documented coaching. She ordered a workload review for implementation teams that had been working repeated weekends. She sent legal a list of complaints closed without all named witnesses being interviewed. At 11:42, Daniel walked into a meeting with Claire, Melissa, a finance director named Greg, and me. Daniel saw me. Oh, come on, Claire said. Jake is here for the portion concerning his case. Daniel pointed at me. He is not an employee. Melissa replied. We noticed. Daniel looked at Melissa. Are you still doing the honesty thing? No, Melissa said. Now I'm doing the knowing what numbers mean thing. No timer. No compulsión. I enjoyed that. Claire opened a staffing report. We have implementation teams averaging 3 weekends a month during quarter-end deployment cycles, Claire said. Greg for finance shrugged. They're salaried. Claire replied, legal classification does not make bad planning free. Daniel leaned back. We're in a recovery cycle. People have to stretch. Claire asked, how many weekends did you work last quarter? Daniel stopped. Melissa looked at the table. I looked at Melissa. Melissa's mouth twitched. Daniel said, that's not comparable. Claire asked why. I run sales, and they run implementations. They knew the job. Claire turned a page. Their job descriptions say occasional weekend support. 3 weekends a month is not occasional. Greg asked, what are you proposing? Staffing review, recovery time, and executive approval when a team exceeds the threshold. What does that cost? Greg asked. Claire answered, probably money. Daniel laughed once. Fantastic. Claire looked at him. Employees are not a free buffer for bad planning. That sentence stayed with me. Not because it was profound, because somebody at Hale Systems had finally attached a cost to a value. At 3:38, Claire called me back in her office alone. My case file was open. She had added the archive transcript, Emma's news statement, and notes from 2 implementation leads. The termination decision cannot stand as documented, Claire said. That's a careful sentence. It's an accurate sentence. Does that mean I'm reinstated? No. I laughed. Claire did not. The client communication failure still happened, she said. You knowingly made a commitment you believed was false. Under pressure from a CEO? Yes. After Daniel pushed me? Yes. After implementation said Friday was impossible? Yes. And your conclusion is still maybe I deserve to be fired? My conclusion is that your conduct and leadership's conduct have to be evaluated separately. That irritated me because it was reasonable. Claire continued, I'm reopening the investigation. The termination will remain under review until the process is complete. I looked at the timer. 1 hour, 21 minutes. Will it stay open tomorrow? Claire looked at me. I don't know. At 4:52, I left Hale Systems. The timer reached 0 while I was stopped at a red light on Wilson Boulevard. The awareness disappeared. I drove another block. My phone buzzed. Automated case notification. I pulled into a grocery store parking lot and opened it. Active review. Timestamp, 5:07 p.m. 8 minutes after the ability ended. Below the status was a scheduled action that had been entered earlier. Close investigation. Someone had canceled it. A new action appeared beneath it. Continue review. I sat in the car with both hands on the steering wheel. Daniel had changed proposal language after his 8 hours. Melissa had left an ugly number ugly. Now Claire had chosen to keep digging when nothing supernatural required her to. The ability could force behavior. It could not force what came after. That was starting to look like the only part that mattered. Emma was waiting outside my apartment when I got home. She sat on the low brick wall beside the entrance with a takeout bag at her feet and the expression of somebody who had spent 40 minutes becoming more annoyed by every passing minute. You could have texted, I said. I did. I checked my phone. 7 messages. The last one said, if you were dead, this is extremely inconvenient. Saw the... Emma stood. Are you dead? Doing something weird to me right now. I stopped. She watched my face. Then Emma said, yeah, that's what I thought. We went upstairs. She put the takeout on my kitchen table. Thai food. She remembered my order. That made the room more awkward than if she had brought a subpoena. Emma sat across from me. Daniel spent an entire day personally fulfilling sales promises, she said. I heard. Melissa became physically incapable of corporate spin. She'd object to that wording. Claire turned HR into an actual human resources department for 8 hours. That's harsh. Jake. I opened my noodles. Emma did not touch hers. She said, all 3 things happened after you talked to them. I kept eating. All 3 stopped after about 8 hours, Emma continued. Except for the things they chose to keep doing. I set down the fork. Emma leaned forward. What did you do? I could have lied. That thought was almost funny. Instead, I said, I can make a lie true for 8 hours. Emma stared at me. Then she said, no. Reasonable. No, I mean that's stupid. Also reasonable. You expect me to believe you have temporary reality editing powers because corporate leadership suddenly developed character? When you say it like that, it does sound unlikely. Emma stood. Show me. I looked around the apartment. The safest tests were boring. Boring had become beautiful. I opened the refrigerator. Pick something that isn't in there. Emma looked inside. Orange juice. I closed the door. There is orange juice in my refrigerator. The timer appeared. Emma could not see it. I opened the refrigerator. A carton of orange juice sat beside the mustard. Emma did not move. Check it, I said. She picked up the carton. Cold. Sealed. Expiration date 2 weeks away. Emma opened it and smelled it. Could have hidden this. Pick something else. She looked around. My phone battery is at 12%. Is it 73? I said, Emma's phone battery is at 12%. Emma's screen changed. 12%. The orange juice vanished from her hand. The timer reset. Emma dropped the phone onto the table. Not dramatically. More like it had become socially unacceptable to hold. What the hell? That's about where I started. She picked up the phone again. 12%. 8 hours unless I replace the lie with another one. Emma stared at me. Can you make anything true? I don't know. Have you tried money? No. Why not? Because I enjoy not being investigated by the Treasury Department. I got no laugh. Emma sat down. Daniel. Yes. Melissa. Yes. Claire. Yes. She looked at me for several seconds. Then she asked, why haven't you used it on me? I had expected anger. I had expected fear. I had not expected that. Why would I? You used it on everyone who helped screw you. That's not the category. Isn't it? No. Emma's voice tightened. I lied in the meeting. You said you didn't know. I knew. Yes. I could have saved your job. Maybe. I didn't. No. Emma looked furious now, but not at me. Then why not me? I leaned back, because I had thought about it. That was the part one had not wanted to admit. I had imagined saying Emma always tells the truth. Emma is never afraid. Emma always does the right thing. Every version had felt wrong in a way Daniel's and Melissa's had not. Finally, I said, you don't need 8 hours. Emma's eyes lifted. You already know. The anger left her face. Not all at once. Enough. I continued. Daniel thought promises were somebody else's labor. Melissa thought packaging bad news was the same as managing it. Claire thought process made a bad decision neutral. They needed to experience the thing they kept avoiding. And me, you knew you were scared. You knew what you did. You apologized before I ever showed you this. Emma looked down at the table. That doesn't make it okay. I didn't say it did. Do you forgive me? I took too long. Emma noticed. Right, she said. I don't know yet. She nodded. That answer hurt her. It was also the only one I had. After a minute, Emma picked up her noodles. How long is my phone going to be at 12%? 8 hours. Can I charge it? I have no idea. She plugged it into the charger. The battery icon stayed at 12. Emma stared at it. You have the most powerful thing I've ever seen, and somehow you've invented a way to make charging annoying. I contain multitudes. That finally got a laugh. For the next hour, Emma asked questions. Could I make someone love me? I had not tried and would not. Could I make someone confess? Probably, depending on the wording, but I had not tested it. Could I make myself rich? Temporarily, maybe. Could I make a dead person alive? I did not know and did not intend to learn by experiment. Could I make the Friday launch never have happened? I did not know. That question ended the joking. Emma asked, have you thought about it? Of course. Why haven't you tried? Because if reality has to rewrite 6 days of consequences to make one sentence true, I don't know what else gets rewritten with it. Emma nodded slowly. Good. You're scared of it. I've been scared of it since the president thing. The what? I told her. Emma put down her fork. You accidentally became president of the United States. For less than 10 minutes. And your first instinct was to resign? My first instinct was to lock the door. That is the most American response you've had all week. She was quiet for a second. So, when you were president, did you suddenly know classified briefings? Nuclear procedure? Any of it? No, nothing. I had the office. I didn't get a lifetime of memories with it. Emma frowned. So the power can rewrite the world, but it doesn't necessarily explain the world it rewrites. That's my working theory. And you're betting your life on a working theory. Which is why I'm not testing it on anything larger than people and systems I already understand. Emma looked at me. Hail systems. Hail systems. That is an insane definition of safe. It's the safest one I have. By the time Emma left, her phone was still at 12%. At the door, she turned back. Jake, yeah. Are you trying to teach these people something? Or just hurt them? I thought about Daniel on Interstate 95. Melissa telling Victor his dashboard was decorative. Claire reopening complaints. Both. Emma shook her head. Pick one. Then she left. I did not pick one. That was the problem. 2 days later, I sat in my car outside Hail Systems with the name of a manager named Brent Lawson written at the top of a notebook page. Brent ran technical support. He had not fired me. He had not ordered me to lie. He had not hidden evidence. He was simply an asshole. That should not have been enough. I had 6 examples anyway. Brent had told a support engineer, in front of 12 people, that if she needed instructions repeated, she should find a job with fewer words. He scheduled Friday afternoon meetings for 5 o'clock and called attendance optional, then mentioned absences and performance reviews. He had once told his team, "My door is always open," then instructed his assistant not to let anyone enter without a calendar invite. The quote I had circled was from a manager workshop. Great managers make their people better. I was still looking at it when Emma knocked on my passenger window. I jumped. She opened the door and got in. That's unsettling, I said. You ignored 3 calls. I was thinking. Emma looked at the notebook. No, you don't even know what I'm doing. Brent Lawson. You know Brent. Everyone knows Brent. Then you understand. I understand he's a jerk. He's worse than a jerk. Did he fire you? No. Did he help cover up the launch decision? No. Did he pressure you to lie? No. Then what are we doing? I looked toward the Hail Systems entrance. Improving management. Emma laughed without humor. You're running out of people who deserve lessons. Brent deserves several. Pretty soon you're just a guy with a magic punishment button. It's not punishment. Really, great managers make their people better. Emma stared at me. That sentence coming out of your mouth right now is terrifying. He humiliates people. I know. He makes people afraid to ask questions. I know. He'll keep doing it. Probably. So 8 hours as a decent manager who might teach him something. Emma leaned back against the seat. Or it might teach you that you enjoy deciding who needs correction. I did not answer. Emma pointed at the notebook. Daniel was directly involved. Melissa was directly involved. Claire was directly involved. You had a reason. I have a reason now. No, you have access. That one landed. I closed the notebook. Emma exhaled. Thank you. I didn't say I agreed. Close enough. We got lunch. Emma went back to work. At 1:17 that afternoon, I drove to a coffee shop. At 1:43, Brent Lawson walked in. I knew he came there most afternoons because 6 years in enterprise sales teaches you two things: what clients need and where coworkers hide from the office. Brent saw me at a table near the window. His face produced the exact amount of sympathy required by professional etiquette. Jake, heard about the situation. Which version? Brent smiled. You know how companies are. Edo. He ordered coffee. I should have let him leave. Instead, I said, how's the support team? Busy. Good people, mostly. Mostly. Brent shrugged. Younger team needs a lot of hand-holding. I thought of the engineer he had mocked. Must be hard. Management is parenting with payroll. There's sentences that arrive already gift-wrapped. I said, Brent is the perfect manager. The timer appeared. 7 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Brent's expression softened. He looked toward the barista, then back at me. Actually, Brent said, that's not true. I almost choked. What? I'm not the perfect manager. Nobody is. The ability had chosen the narrowest plausible interpretation of what I meant. Not perfection as omniscience. Perfection as behavior. Brent pulled out the chair across from me. I owe you an apology. For what? I knew support was escalating the launch risk. I didn't push hard enough because I didn't want my team dragged into implementation politics. I stared at him. Brent continued. Also, I shouldn't have said heard about the situation like you got a parking ticket. You got scapegoated. Okay. He checked his watch. I need to go. Where? Back to work. Of course. Brent stood. My one-on-one with Maya is in 10 minutes, and I've been canceling it for 3 weeks. He left. I texted Emma. You were right. 3 dots appeared immediately. About what? I wrote. Nothing important. Then I put the phone away. For 8 hours, Brent Lawson became the manager his employees had been told they worked for. At 2:12, Maya from support texted me. Did you drug Brent? I replied. No, Maya. He apologized for interrupting me. Then, he asked what I need to do my job. Then, he wrote it down. At 3:06, another former coworker sent me a message. Brent canceled the 5 p.m. Friday meeting forever. At 3:40, Maya called. Jake, he just took responsibility for the backlog in front of Victor. Good. No, you don't understand. Brent said, my staffing plan was wrong. Stop asking the team to compensate for it. That sounds healthy. Who are you, and what have you done with Brent? I watched the timer. Maybe he's having a good day. Maya lowered her voice. He told Priya her documentation is excellent. Is it? Yes. Then maybe he finally noticed. At 5:30, the support team ordered pizza. Not because they were working late. Because Brent had canceled the late meeting and told them to spend the budget on food before going home. At 6:11, Emma called. You did it. I did not answer. Jake. Yes. You waited until I left. Yes. That is the behavior of a 12-year-old with access to nuclear weapons. It's a management intervention. It's creepy. Effective, though. Emma went quiet. Then she asked, are his employees happy? I looked at the messages. Very. That's worse. How is that worse? Because now you're going to think it worked. At 9:43, the timer reached 0. Brent was home by then. So was I. Nothing happened. I went to bed with 12 messages from Hale Systems employees describing the best day their team had experienced in months. The next morning, Maya called me at 9:06. Her voice was flat. He's back. I sat up. What happened? Stand up. What did he do? Priya asked whether the new escalation template was still in effect. And Brent said, If you need me to hold your hand through a form, we have a bigger problem. I closed my eyes. Maya continued. Then he moved the Friday meeting back to 5. What about yesterday? He said he was trying a softer leadership approach, and it created confusion. I got out of bed. Did he keep anything? The staffing review is still scheduled. That was something. Then Maya added, he assigned it to me. That was nothing. After the call, I sat at the kitchen table. Daniel had changed a rule. Melissa had changed a number. Claire had changed a decision. Brent had changed for 8 hours. Then he had changed back. The difference was not how strong the lie had been. The difference was whether the person inside it had recognized anything worth keeping. Emma arrived 20 minutes later without asking. She had coffee. She put mine in front of me. I assume you've heard. Yes. Do you want me to say I told you so? No. Good. I was going to anyway. I looked at her. Emma sat. How do you feel? Like I wasted 8 hours. No. Like I proved your point. Closer. I rubbed my face. He was good at it. I'm sure. His team loved him. I'm sure. He knew exactly what to do. Emma nodded. Because you made the behavior true. Then why didn't any of it stick? Because being good at something for 8 hours isn't the same as choosing it. I hated that answer because I had already reached it. Emma took a drink. You can control performance, she said. You can't manufacture growth. I know. Say it again. You look like you need the repetition. I know. My phone rang. Victor Hale. Emma saw the name. Neither of us spoke. It rang again. I answered. Jake, Victor said. Victor, I'd like to talk. About my termination? About several things. Is this a legal call? No. Is Claire there? No. Daniel? No. Melissa? No. Victor paused. Just me. I looked at Emma. She mouthed, don't lie. I almost laughed. Victor said, can you come to the office at 3? No. Another pause. Victor was not used to that answer. Where would you prefer? I named a hotel bar in Arlington that Hale Systems used for client dinners. Victor said, 3 o'clock. He hung up. Emma stared at me. That was fast. He found a common denominator. You. Me. Are you scared? Yes. Emma nodded. Good. You say that a lot. It keeps you interesting. At 3, Victor was already seated in a quiet corner of the hotel lounge. No security. No lawyers. No dramatic folder. Just Victor Hale in a charcoal suit with a cup of coffee he had not touched. I had known him for 6 years. I had never been alone with him outside the office. He stood when I approached. Jake. Victor. We sat. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Victor said, Daniel spent a day personally fulfilling 6 months of sales language. I heard. Melissa spent a day saying things she has carefully avoided saying for years. Sounds healthy. Claire reopened employment matters she had already closed. Also healthy. Victor watched me. All 3 events began after contact with you. I said nothing. Victor continued. Brent Lawson had what his team is describing as a religious conversion yesterday. Maybe management training finally worked. Then this morning, he reverted. I kept my face still. Victor leaned back. I'm not asking how. That surprised me. Victor saw it. I've spent 30 years building a technology company. I know when I don't have enough information to explain a system. That's unusually humble. No, it's efficient. There he was. Victor said, I don't need to know how you did it to know you're involved. Then why meet me? Because whatever you're doing it to make a point. I looked at him. Victor continued, Daniel's promises. Melissa's honesty. Claire's employee first language. You're turning our values against us. Interesting choice of phrase. Is it wrong? Maybe your values shouldn't be dangerous when applied. Victor almost smiled. That's good. I've had free time. A server came over. Victor ordered another coffee. I ordered nothing. When she left, Victor said, What do you want? My job back. I can do that. The answer came too quickly. I frowned. Victor said, Same title, restored tenure, full back pay. You fired me. The company terminated you. You approved it. Yes. At least he did not hide. Victor continued. Or, if returning is not attractive, I can increase the severance to 1 year. I laughed. Victor waited. A year. With benefits. That's generous. It's practical. There's the word. Victor ignored that. I can also provide a personal recommendation. Not HR me. For what? Any enterprise software company in the country. And if I want none of that? Victor folded his hands. Then tell me what you want. I thought about the easiest answer. I want you to admit you lied. But I did not say it. Instead, I asked, why did you do it? Victor's face did not change. Do what? Don't. Heal my eyes. Then Victor said, the client failure created a material renewal risk. We had a board meeting 48 hours later. 2 lenders were already asking questions about the quarter. If the incident became evidence that executive leadership knowingly launched an unready system, we had a larger problem. So you made it my problem. You made the statement. Because you told me to. I told you to hold the date. You texted say yes. Victor's jaw tightened. I did. There it was. No magic. No timer. Just 2 words. I asked, why weren't the texts in the review? Victor looked toward the window. I don't know who removed them from the export. Do you want me to believe that? I don't care what you believe about that detail. Convenient. Victor leaned forward. What I care about is this. Hail Systems employs just over 2,000 people. Payroll is more than $3 million every 2 weeks. We had a client threatening to terminate a major contract, a board asking whether leadership had lost operational control, and a financing covenant I was not interested in testing. And mine. Victor stopped. My what? I asked. My paycheck. My reputation. 6 years. Where did that go in the spreadsheet? Victor's voice stayed level. Sometimes leadership requires choosing the lesser evil. I stared at him. He believed it. That was the worst part. Not completely. Not comfortably. But enough. Victor said, I protected 2,000 jobs. In mine, I made a decision I believed protected the company. You sacrificed 1 employee because 1 employee was cheaper. Yes, the words sat between us. I had the sentence ready. Victor always takes responsibility. Leadership means responsibility. Victor would never ask someone to do something he wouldn't do himself. Any one of them could have turned the next 8 hours into something spectacular. I did not use the ability. Victor noticed something in my face. What? He asked. Not something I want to say. Victor waited. I said, you actually think you're the good guy. His expression hardened. I think running a company means making decisions where every option hurts someone. That's not the same as deciding the person with the least power gets hurt. No, Victor said, but sometimes that's what happens. The server placed his coffee down. Victor thanked her by name. I noticed that. He had always been good at names. Victor took 1 sip. Come back, he said. Why? Because you're good at your job. That's not why. No, it's also because I'd rather have you inside the building than outside at doing whatever this is. There was the honest part. I stood. Victor said, the offer stays open. I don't want your money. Everybody wants money. I want you to understand what you did. Victor looked tired for the first time. I understand exactly what I did. That was the problem. I left. Emma called before I reached my car. Well, he's not a cartoon villain. Tragic. He offered my job back. Are you taking it? No. Money. A year. Emma whistled. That is enough money to make morality develop a flexible schedule. I said no. Of course you did. What does that mean? It means you're currently powered by spite and unemployment benefits. I got into the Honda. Emma asked, did you use it on him? No. She was quiet. Then she said, good. I don't know if it was. Why not? Because he admitted it. Admitted what? That he chose me because losing me was cheaper than letting the company take the hit. Emma did not answer immediately. Finally, she said, that's awful. He thinks it was leadership. That's worse. Yeah. For the next 6 days, I did not use the ability. That was not discipline. It was lack of opportunity. Or maybe lack of courage. Hail Systems had another problem, and this time nobody could pretend it belonged to one person. Laura Kim called me Thursday at 6:32 in the evening. I had not spoken to her since the failed launch. Jake, Laura said, are you still with Hail? No, I heard. Then why are you calling me? Because your name is still all over the recovery notes, and I trust you to tell me when I should be worried. I sat down at my kitchen table. Laura, I can't advise you on Hale's project. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking whether a message I got should worry me. What message? Daniel wrote that the remediation schedule is under review and Hale won't commit to a new production date until technical validation is complete. I blinked. That is the most responsible sentence Daniel has ever written. That's what worries me. Despite myself, I laughed. Laura continued. Melissa's report says there are 3 unresolved integration risks and staffing capacity is constrained. Also responsible. Claire rejected the weekend recovery plan because it required the implementation team to work 3 consecutive weekends. I leaned back. So everybody is telling you the truth. Yes. And you hate it. I did not say I hate it. You called the fired account manager during dinner. Laura sighed. My board wants a date. My operations team wants a date. Hale won't give me one. Then they probably don't know. I know. That was the problem. Honesty had not fixed the project. It had removed the makeup. Laura said, Victor is joining tomorrow's recovery meeting. Okay. I thought you'd want to know. Why? Because whatever happened over there after you left, people started talking differently. I looked at the notebook on my table. Maybe they got tired of surprises. Maybe. Laura ended the call. At 8:10, Emma came over with a laptop tucked under her arm. No work documents, I said when I opened the door. I know. No screenshots. I know. No confidential files. Emma looked offended. I'm the one who still has a job. Fair. She opened a blank document at my kitchen table. Here's what I can tell you without violating anything. The project is worse than we thought before launch. How much worse? Architecture problem. Not one bug. 3 systems are sharing assumptions that were never actually compatible. English. Emma pointed at me. This is why implementation people hate account managers. English, Emma. The Friday launch wasn't a car with a flat tire. It was 3 cars welded together, and somebody promised they'd all steer. Better. Thank you. She closed the laptop. Daniel won't promise a date now. Good. Melissa won't hide the risk. Good. Claire won't approve a recovery plan that burns out the team. Good. Emma stared at me. I said, why do you keep saying it like good is about to become bad? Because the client wants a date, finance wants the renewal, and the board wants the problem contained before the quarter closes. Still sounds like they should fix it correctly. They should, but correctly may take 6 weeks. I understood. The old Hale systems would have called it 2, maybe 3. Then everybody underneath the promise would have been forced to manufacture reality with weekends, shortcuts, and fear. Now nobody was lying, and the truth was expensive. The next morning, Victor invited me to the recovery meeting. I declined. Claire called 10 minutes later. You're a witness to the original launch decision, Claire said. The client asked that you attend the first 30 minutes. Laura asked. Yes. That changed it. At 10, I sat in a conference room at Hale Systems with Victor, Daniel, Melissa, Claire, Emma, 2 engineers, Laura on video, and enough tension to run the building without electricity. Daniel spoke first. We cannot responsibly commit to a production date today. Laura said, that's not an acceptable long-term answer. I understand, Daniel replied. It's the accurate short-term answer. I looked at him. Daniel noticed. Don't, he said. I didn't say anything. Melissa took over. The current recovery estimate is 4 to 6 weeks, assuming no additional integration failures. Laura's finance director appeared on a second video tile. Last week you said 2. Melissa answered, last week the 2-week estimate excluded work we now know is required. What did you not know? Melissa did not flinch, because our reporting process rewarded optimistic scope assumptions. Victor looked at her. Melissa added, that process is being corrected. No timer. No compulsión. Claire spoke next. The 3-week accelerated plan is not approved from a staffing standpoint. It depends on repeated weekend work across teams already above sustainable load. Laura asked, can contractors fill the gap? Emma answered, some, not all. The bottleneck is system knowledge, not just headcount. One of the engineers, Priya, added, adding 10 people who don't know the architecture gives me 10 more people to explain the architecture to. Laura rubbed her forehead. Victor had barely spoken. Finally, Laura asked him, Victor, what are you proposing? Victor looked around the room. 6 weeks. Daniel turned toward him. Melissa stopped typing. Victor continued. We stabilize the interfaces, rebuild migration validation, and run a full load cycle before another production attempt. Laura said, 6 weeks costs us millions. Victor nodded. I know, her finance director said. Our renewal decision is in 23 days. I know that too. Laura leaned toward the camera. Then give me a better answer. Victor's eyes moved to me, just for a second, then back to Laura. I don't have one. The room went quiet. It should have felt like progress. Instead, it felt like watching a building discover gravity. After the call, Daniel shut his laptop. We're going to lose the renewal. Melissa said, maybe. Daniel looked at her. That was not an invitation to honesty. It wasn't a compulsion either. Claire gathered her notes. Victor stayed seated. When everyone else started leaving, he said, Jake, stay. Emma looked at me. I nodded. She left with the others. Victor waited until the door closed. Then he said, this is what you wanted. What? Daniel doesn't overpromise. Melissa reports the full risk. Claire protects the staff. Everybody behaves according to the values printed on the wall. Sounds terrible. We may lose our largest account. Because the project is broken. Because the company is refusing to do what companies sometimes have to do. Lie. Commit before certainty. That's a prettier word. Victor stood. Do you know what happens if we tell every customer every internal uncertainty? If we staff every project for the worst case? If we refuse every aggressive deadline? We lose to companies willing to move faster. Maybe. No, we do. He walked to the glass wall. Outside, employees moved between conference rooms. Victor said, idealism doesn't run companies. I looked at him. There was no triumph in his voice. That made it harder. He was not saying, see, I beat you. He was saying, see, this is the bill. Victor turned back. You wanted truth. Here it is. The project needs 6 weeks. The client may leave in 3. If they leave, we miss the quarter. If we miss the quarter badly enough, the board cuts spending. Spending means people. People like me? Victor's mouth tightened. Yes, people like you. I wanted an easy answer. I wanted to tell him doing the right thing always worked if you were brave enough. I had spent enough time with customers to know that was also a lie. My phone buzzed. Emma. I did not read it. Victor said, you can make fun of the language. You can punish hypocrisy. Eventually somebody still has to choose what happens when every honest option is bad. I stood. Then maybe choose without pretending the cost belongs to somebody else. Victor looked at me. For once, he had no immediate reply. I left. Emma was waiting by the elevators. What did he say? She asked. That idealism doesn't run companies. Emma pressed the button. Very so. The annoying part is he has a point. Emma looked at me. Don't say that too loud. He'll put it in the annual report. The elevator arrived. We stepped inside. As the doors closed, my phone rang. Laura. I answered. Jake, Laura said, I need to ask you something off the record. I don't really have a record anymore. I'm serious. So am I. Laura took a breath. If you were still running this account, what would you do? I looked at Emma. She could hear Laura's voice. Emma did not answer for me. Neither did the universe. I said, I'd stop promising a date until the system earns one. Laura was quiet. Even if it costs the renewal? Yes. The elevator reached the lobby. Laura said, that's not what I wanted to hear. I know. Thank you. She hung up. Outside, Emma said, so what now? I looked back at Hale Systems. For the first time since I discovered the ability, I did not have a person in mind. No quotes circled in a notebook. No executive waiting to be taught a lesson. Just a broken project, an honest 6-week estimate, and a company that might not survive the truth without paying for it. I don't know, I said. Nothing happened. Emma nodded. Good. Again with good. Means you're finally asking the right question. The answer came at 11:46 that night. Emma called. I answered from bed. Tell me nobody died. Nobody died. Great. What happened? The reconciliation environment failed again. I sat up. Production? No. Test? Good. Not good. The rollback path failed too. I was awake now. Emma continued. We have a recovery bridge open. Victor's on it. Daniel is on it. Melissa's on it. Laura's team is on. Why are you calling me? Because I had an idea. The way she said it made me nervous. That sentence has ruined several projects. Shut up. What idea? Emma lowered her voice. You could say the project is already fixed. I did not answer. She continued. For 8 hours, everything would work. We could finish reconciliation, run the load cycle, validate the migration, give Laura proof. Then 8 hours later, the lie ends, and whatever was directly created by it disappears. I know. The system could be broken underneath, all of it. I know. We would generate 8 hours of false evidence. Emma was silent. I got out of bed. She said, I know. Then why are we talking about it? Because Laura's board meets tomorrow morning. If we can't show a stable run, they may terminate the contract. There it was. Not greed, not revenge. A practical reason. A frightened person staring at a bad outcome and asking whether one temporary lie could buy enough time to prevent it. Victor had probably said something similar before he texted me say yes. I walked into the kitchen. The notebook was on the table. I could say it. The project is already fixed. One sentence. 8 hours. Enough time to make every dashboard green. Enough time to produce logs, test results, executive confidence. Enough time to make tomorrow easier. I opened my mouth. The project is... Emma said nothing. For 1 second, I was back in that conference room with Daniel staring at me, Victor's text on my phone, and Laura waiting for an answer. Say yes. It'll be ready. Different crisis. Same shortcut. I closed my mouth. No. Emma exhaled. I said, if I do that, I'm Victor. She did not argue. That scared me more than if she had. After a few seconds, Emma said, I know. I closed my eyes. You were testing me. No, Emma, I wasn't. I wanted you to do it. That answer was worse. She continued. For about 5 minutes, I wanted the easy lie. Then I heard myself. I sat down. So what do we do? Emma said, we find out why everybody is still afraid to tell Victor what's actually wrong. At 7:30 the next morning, I walked into Hail Systems without using the ability to get through security. Claire had issued a temporary visitor credential tied to the client review. Martin handed it to me. You people are starting to make me miss normal layoffs, he said. Give it time. Upstairs, the recovery room was already full. Priya was there. Emma was there. Melissa and Daniel were there. Victor stood near the wall screen, while a senior engineer named Sam explained the failed rollback. Sam's explanation took 3 minutes to reach one ugly point. The backup plan depended on the same bad assumptions as the main system. Victor asked, why do we build it this way? Sampost. Historical reasons. That phrase told me everything. Historical reasons meant somebody knew. Historical reasons meant the real sentence was too expensive to say. Victor asked, what reasons? Sam looked toward Priya. Priya looked at Emma. Emma looked at me. Fear had a choreography, not dramatic fear. Career fear. The kind that taught intelligent adults to replace names with nouns. A decision was made. Leadership preferred. The business required. Historical reasons. Victor said, somebody answer me. Nobody did. I knew the lie I wanted. It was not about fixing the project. It was not about making Victor kind. It was not even about honesty. I said, clearly, for the next 8 hours, nobody at Hail Systems is afraid to tell Victor the truth. The timer appeared. 7 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Nothing visible changed. Victor looked at me. He knew, not the mechanics. Enough. Sam incurled. Then he said, you. Victor turned. Sam swallowed, but he did not stop. You approved the shortcut 18 months ago. Engineering said the core systems needed to be separated before we scaled. We were 6 weeks from the customer summit. You said we'd revisit after the quarter. Victor stared at him. Sam continued. We never revisited. The room stayed silent for half a second. Then Priya said, and I stopped raising it after the 3rd time Melissa's team changed it from critical risk to post-launch optimization. Melissa nodded once. True. Daniel looked at Melissa. Melissa said, don't look at me like that. You asked me last year to stop putting red items in sales decks because customers don't buy panic. Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. A junior engineer at the far end of the table said, Also, our test environment has been lying for 6 months. Everyone turned toward him. Victor asked, "Your name?" "Caleb." "What do you mean?" Caleb replied, "The test environment is too small. We know it. We asked twice for one that matched real customer volume. Finance rejected it." Greg from Finance, who had joined by video, said, "Because the infrastructure estimate was $400,000. Caleb answered, "And now the failed launch has cost more than that." Greg stared at the screen. "Yes," he said, "that was the beginning. For 8 hours, Hail Systems stopped being polite about risk. Not rude, not reckless, just unafraid." A customer success manager told Daniel that 3 renewal promises had no delivery owners. Daniel wrote them down. A support lead told Melissa that her dashboard categorized unresolved escalations as engagement opportunities. Melissa said, "I know. I hate that phrase now." Claire told Victor that executive exceptions to policy had become common enough that employees no longer believed policy meant anything. Victor asked how common. Claire handed him a list. He stopped asking for examples. At 10:20, Victor called an all-hands meeting for department leads and open contributors. I stood in the back. He did not know the exact rule. He knew something was happening. Victor looked around the room and said, "If you think I'm making a bad decision, tell me now." A woman from implementation raised her hand. "Which one?" A few people laughed. Victor did too. "Start with the expensive one." She did. Then another person spoke. Then another. People did not become smarter under the lie. They had always known. That was what got to Victor. The company was full of people who had seen the cracks. They had simply learned which cracks were safe to mention. At 12:40, Daniel found me near the cafeteria. "You did this," he said. "Probably." "What exactly?" "I made people less nervous about Victor." Daniel looked through the glass wall toward a conference room where Victor was listening to 3 engineers. "Can you make people less nervous about me?" "I think that's called therapy." Daniel snorted. Then his expression changed. "Jake." "Yeah." "How many people do you think I made afraid to say no?" I could have hurt him. Instead, I said, "Enough." Daniel nodded. He did not defend himself. At 2:15, Melissa cornered me by the elevators. "I want this permanently." "No." "Why not?" "Because I can't." "That's inconvenient. You still have a mouth." Melissa frowned. "I had one before." "Use it." She hated that answer, which was probably why it was useful. At 3:29, with 41 minutes left, Victor found me in an empty conference room. He closed the door. "What happens when this ends?" "People get scared again." Victor looked toward the hallway. "Can you stop that?" "No." "Can you do this every day?" "Probably." "I won't." His eyes moved back to me. "Why?" "Because then none of this is real." Victor stared at the glass wall. Outside, Kayla was explaining something to Priya with both hands. Victor said they knew. Yes, all of them. Different pieces. And they didn't tell me. They did. Victor turned. I continued, in decks, in risk logs, in escalation notes, in meetings where the wording got softened until it fit. Victor looked tired. They stopped making me hear it. That's different. He did not argue. At 4:10, the timer reached 0. I was sitting alone in the lobby. The feeling vanished. No flash, no sound, just 8 hours ending. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then Daniel walked past the lobby toward the parking garage. He saw me. He stopped. I just told Victor the 6-week estimate is still 6 weeks. No timer. You tell me. None. Daniel nodded. Good. Melissa came through the lobby next. She held up her phone. I sent the real forecast to finance. Congratulations. It was ugly. Even better. Claire arrived last. She looked at me. The board requested a workforce reduction scenario if the client leaves. My stomach tightened. What did you tell them? That HR will prepare lawful options, but I'm not pre-selecting names before the business decision exists. No timer. I know. Claire walked out. Victor did not appear. The next afternoon, he called me at 5:38. Come. That's not how invitations work. Please. That was new. At 6:15, Victor was in a conference room with a paper cup of coffee and no jacket. He looked like he had spent the entire day reading things he wished had stayed summarized. I want you to hear something, he said. He opened an old company video on his laptop. Victor was younger in it, thinner, no gray at his temples. He stood on a temporary stage in what looked like the original Hale Systems warehouse office. Maybe 50 employees sat in folding chairs. Young Victor said, "I would never ask someone here to do something I wouldn't do myself." He closed the laptop. "You kept that?" I asked. "Marketing keeps everything." Terrifying. Victor did not smile. "I meant it. I know. That might be worse." "Also no." He looked at me. "Can you make that true?" I froze. "You understand what you're asking?" "No, neither do I." Victor's jaw tightened. "Do it." "Why?" "Because I don't think I understand what the last 10 years cost other people." I studied him. This was different from Daniel. Different from Melissa. Different from Claire. Victor was asking. He still did not know the exact mechanics. But he knew enough to know 8 hours would end. "One condition," I said. "What?" "I don't follow you around." Victor frowned. "I'm serious. No audience. No listen. No asking whether you learned something." "Finet." I stood. Victor waited. At 6:29 in the evening, I said, "Victor never asks an employee to do something he wouldn't do himself." The timer appeared. 7 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Victor's phone rang. He answered. That was how his night started. For the next several hours, the rule kept dragging executive decisions back to the person who had made them. Victor covered the recovery bridge when the implementation lead needed a break. When Priya asked for uninterrupted time to repair a validation script, he stopped demanding status updates. When Daniel tried to move a client checkpoint into the engineering team's meal break, Victor left the break alone. Near midnight, a migration problem forced a manual review of duplicate records. Victor sat beside Caleb and started matching them by hand. I was not there. Emma texted me at 11:52. Victor is doing cleanup work. Then, he asked Caleb how often this happens. Then, Caleb said, depends how many shortcuts leadership approved. Then, Victor said fair. At 2:13 in the morning, my phone rang. I answered on the second ring. Emma said, he's still here. I sat up. The timer showed 16 minutes. Where? 6th floor break room. Why are you calling me? Because I think you should come. I said I wouldn't. I know. I'm overruling you. That's not how rules work. Get dressed. 20 minutes later, I walked into Hale Systems. The ability had ended on the drive over. Victor sat in the break room with Caleb and Priya. 3 vending machine sandwiches lay open on the table. Victor's tie was gone. His sleeves were rolled. He looked like the younger man from the old video, except exhausted. Caleb was talking. This is the 3rd weekend I've canceled because the sales promised something impossible, he said. The ability was over. He could have stopped. He did not. Victor asked, why didn't you tell me? Caleb looked at him. I did. Victor lowered his eyes. Caleb continued, not you personally. I don't get meetings with you. I told my manager. My manager told operations. Operations put it in the risk report. Melissa, standing near the doorway, said, then I changed the wording. Caleb looked at her. Melissa nodded. I did. Dana was there too, he said, and I pushed to keep it out of the client deck. Nobody blamed the universe. Nobody blamed magic. Nobody blamed culture as if culture were weather. They named decisions. Victor looked at the sandwich in his hand. How often do people eat dinner from that machine? Priya said, more than the company values deck would recommend. Victor laughed once. Tired. Then he put the sandwich down. Go home. Priya stared at him. Victor said, both of you. Go home. Sleep. Caleb asked, what about the bridge? I'll stay until the morning team arrives. Priya looked at me. I shook my head. No timer. No power. She packed her laptop. Caleb did too. When they left, Victor did not look at me. I did not ask whether he understood. I went home. The board meeting happened 2 days later. I knew because Claire called me at 8:30 that morning. They're preparing to terminate Daniel, she said. I stopped pouring coffee. For the project failure? For sales governance, unauthorized commitments, and breakdowns in escalation discipline. That sounds like a lot of words for scapegoat. Claire did not disagree. Victor has the draft. I put down a coffee pot. When's the meeting? 10. I should go. No. Emma's voice came through the phone. I frowned. Are you both there? Claire said, Emma is in my office. Emma took the phone. Don't. They'll do it again. Maybe. Daniel did plenty wrong. I know. He deserves consequences. I know. Then what are you arguing? Emma answered, let him choose. I went quiet. She continued, you can't keep forcing the moment where somebody becomes better. That's the entire point, isn't it? I hated when she used my own conclusions against me. They might fire him. Then Victor owns that. And if he doesn't, then Victor owns that too. At 10, I was not in the boardroom. I was in my apartment. I turned my phone face down. I did not use the ability. Later, Claire told me what happened. The board chair pushed Daniel's termination package across the table. Someone has to take responsibility, he said. Victor looked at it for a long time. Daniel was not in the room. Neither was Emma. Neither was I. Victor closed the folder. I do, he said. The board chair asked, meaning what? Victor answered, the launch commitment was made under my direction. The escalation culture developed under my leadership. Daniel contributed to it. Melissa contributed to it. I contributed most. One director asked whether Victor was resigning. Victor said no. Not dramatically. Not heroically. He said the company still needed a CEO through the recovery. Then he proposed something more expensive to himself. No executive bonuses that year. An independent operational review. Board approval required for certain delivery exceptions. A compensation pool for the implementation and support teams that had absorbed repeated unpaid recovery work. And a formal correction to my termination record. The board did not applaud. Boards rarely do anything useful with applause. They argued for 3 hours. Some measures passed. Some are modified. Victor lost authority over compensation decisions for the rest of the year. 2 directors gained oversight rights on delivery risk. The company took the hit. Not the theatrical hit. The real kind. Money. Power. Control. The next afternoon, Victor held a joint meeting with Laura's team and Hale Systems leadership. Claire invited me. I went. Victor did not begin with values. That was a good sign. He looked into the camera and said, Jake Mercer did not make the Friday commitment on his own. Laura did not move. Victor continued. I told him to say yes. Daniel stared at the table. Melissa sat very still. Emma looked at me. Victor said that instruction was not adequately represented in our internal review. Jake was terminated under an incomplete record. Hale Systems is correcting that record. Laura asked, Are you saying Jake was not responsible for the promise? Victor answered, He was responsible for saying it. I was responsible for directing him to say it. Then Victor looked at me. I told him to say yes. I had imagined hearing those words for weeks. In my imagination, they were louder, more satisfying, the kind of sentence that made a room understand exactly who had been wrong. In reality, Victor said them in a conference room in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. No timer appeared. No reality shifted. Nobody became better because the sentence existed. The truth was simply on the record at last. That was enough. It did not make me innocent. I had still said the words. It made the story complete. Claire submitted the revised investigation summary that afternoon. My personnel record changed from termination for unauthorized client commitment to termination rescinded following review. Hale offered reinstatement. I declined. Daniel renegotiated the client schedule. 6 weeks. No magic. Laura accepted. Her board did not like it. They accepted anyway. The client kept the contract, but cut the next renewal term and required outside validation before production. Hale Systems lost money. A lot of it. The company did not collapse. 3 weeks later, I sat in a coffee shop across from Emma. I had not been back to Hale Systems since the correction meeting. Emma stirred sugar in her coffee and took a sip. You know, Daniel said no to a client yesterday. Voluntarily, nobody died. Progress. He told them Friday wasn't realistic and asked for 2 weeks. Did the client scream? For 11 minutes. How did Daniel survive? Apparently adults can hear the word no. I smiled. Emma added, he did call the 2-week plan aggressive but achievable until Priya asked him what made it achievable. There he is. He changed it to aggressive. Still counts. Emma continued. Melissa sent the board forecast without changing a red account to yellow. Gangdan. Claire blocked determination because the manager had skipped the documented coaching process. She's going to ruin capitalism. Emma rolled her eyes. And Victor canceled the executive bonus pool. I heard. He moved part of it into project team compensation. I looked out the window. Did he announce it? No, payroll did. That mattered more. Emma studied me. You're checking. Checking what? Whether they're still different. Maybe. You going back? No. Still angry? Yes. Emma traced the rim of her cup with one finger. And me? I looked at her. Not the same way. She waited. I forgive you, I said. That doesn't mean I forgot what happened. I know. I waited. No time. That mattered. Still unemployed? Technically not. Her eyebrows rose. I had started consulting. One client. Then two. Small stuff. Enterprise account recovery. Contract language. Implementation risk. Basically all the work I had already been doing, except now nobody could tell me to say yes from a conference room 3 floors away. Emma smiled. Look at you. Self-employed and insufferable. I've always believed in professional growth. You believed in severance. Also true. For weeks after that, Victor emailed me. No subject line. Just a restaurant name and a time. I ignored it. Then Emma texted. Go. I asked why. She replied, because if you make me drag you there, I will charge consulting rates. So I went. Victor was not there when I arrived. Emma was. She sat in a booth near the back. Where's Victor? I asked. Don't know. You told me to come. I told you stop being weird. Different assignment. We ordered dinner. Halfway through, Emma asked, you still have it? Yeah. Used it lately? No, not even once. Not once. I waited. No time. Emma noticed me checking the empty air. Look at you, she said. Personal growth. Don't sound so surprised. I've met you. The server arrived with the check. Then she stopped. Oh, you're all set. I frowned. All set. Someone already paid. Emma looked at me. Was that you? No, nothing happened. True. The server handed me a small folded note. I recognized Victor's handwriting from 6 years of margin comments. I opened it. I owed you dinner. And an apology. Victor. I read it twice. Emma did not ask what it said. She waited. I handed her the note. She read it. That's almost human. Careful. He's still a CEO. We left the restaurant. Outside, the night was warm. Emma walked beside me toward the parking lot. So, she said, are you finally responsible now? I looked at her. Completely. The timer appeared. 7 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. I stopped walking. Emma saw my face. No, I looked at the timer. Damn it. Emma laughed. There he is.